I am Sunny Betz. I play the lead guitar.
I'm Kaleb Wallace. I play the bass.
I'm Lise Ivanova. I play rhythm guitar and I'm the vocalist.
I'm Jill Roth and I play the tenor sax.
I'm Landon Kerouac and I play drums.
I put out a recruitment flyer when I first moved to Chicago in like fall of 2022. I'd moved here I'd spent a year in LA and LA kind of pissed me off and made me angry, and I had this burning desire to start a band. So it was like the first thing I did when I moved here. I put up a bunch of recruitment flyers for like a post-hardcore like noise rock band. Yeah, I can't even remember what it said, but it was like, I am anti-narcissism, anti-elitism, I'm not forlorn. Because I met a bunch of people in LA who were like very like insincere and like crazy. And I like wanted to make art about how miserable they were. And I've like kind of lived a miserable life, but I don't wish to make art about being miserable. So that was a huge part of like recruiting for the band. Something that I wanted to stay away from. Mentally ill people.
No. Well, that didn't work out. I feel like it was the thing that drew me to the flyer was it felt very sincere. I mean, I was drawn by the influences, but it seemed like you were a fun person to be around and also just cool. And I don't know, I feel like we not try to persist to be cool to this day, but we definitely try to persist to be sincere. I feel like sometimes you see flyers and they're like, oh, we want to play like AC/DC covers, and you're like, okay. But this seemed like there was a vision, which I thought was really cool.
We do a lot of things that are unusual.
Yeah, we don't really engage in so how are we doing tonight?
Stage banter.
Yeah, the stage banter. And, you know, I don't think that's a comment against, you know, it's not like anyone who does stage banter is a icky band. I think it's just
People notice that it's different though
Yeah,
than from what bands typically do.
Exactly.
We get that feedback. And the other feedback we get frequently is that we sound a lot different than other bands in the scene, which I don't know if that's true, but that's certainly what we hear a lot, is that we sound much different.
I just broke a nail on camera.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, I also think compositionally we have a little bit of a unique take on, you know, song structures, and I think, you know, some people recognize that, and I think that can help the whole, you know, weird show experiences to not only have like it be performed weird, but also just like the songs themselves be a little bit unusual or, you know, not conventional, I guess.
Yeah. Alongside that, like the weird flyers that we've done, like the weird like ARG flyer that we did that like got posted on Reddit.
Yeah, weird merch.
Obviously our band name, weird merch that got picked up by Stereogum, unfortunately. Yeah, we've done a few other antics. No stage banter is huge. I think audiences aren't used to like not being like directly engaged with. We've like played a show like with our backs to the audience, which is like an old Scrams tradition.
I think we're like antagonistic on stage in a way that people aren't used to.
That's true.
Or there's a bit of a purposeful wall that we put up between us and the audience in a way.
It's sort of like standing the opposite direction in an elevator. You know, I think it kind of just makes
classic.
I think it just kind of makes everyone
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
People have said that I think by virtue of like us not interrupting ourselves with stage banter and stuff, like people have like described our live act as like being put in a spell. I hear that a lot. For some reason, I've gotten that comment several times. So
I've heard people say that we scare the shit out of them too.
yes.
Like sometimes people are really terrified. I had someone come up to me and be like, you scared the shit out of me and you look like you hated your life on stage. And I'm very happy on stage to be there. I just feel like it's like part of the act is to purposefully put up this sort of wall. I like to think of the military gear in a way as like a defense against the audience. Nothing against the audience, but I think audiences aren't used to seeing something that doesn't sort of cater to them or like try to appeal to them. So I think doing something that is antagonistic and seems like, you know, like we sort of hide our personalities in a way behind this uniform. It sort of neutralizes that, and I think audiences aren't really used to that at all, and so I think it creates this interesting dynamic that is uncommon.
We just try to eliminate factors that detract from like the merits of what we're actually trying to doing, such as, you know, like social clout chasing, or, you know, like, oh, like that dude is wearing a shirt of a band that I also like, you know, and that could, you know, that's a cool thing, I guess, but like that's, you know, that
That skews like their perception. of us,
exactly. Yeah, we want to only present the things that we want to present, you know, instead of all these other variables that could change that.
There was like 2 or 3 times that I wore heels on stage and then realized that it was maybe getting read the wrong way, and so now I just wear boots.
Yeah.
But like things like that, like we try to not play into like it being read as anything but a uniform and something with which we're just delivering you the music.
We're just vehicles for the message.
Yeah, for me, it's not even like a uniform or like military gear. It's just like almost like restrictions or like a blank slate of cloth, you know.
And I think the uniform is also a means of like kind of depersonalizing us. I had like as an explicit like tenet of the uniform when we were like thinking about all this, I was like, no graphics, like no band tees, you know, like let's depersonalize ourselves and be like a collective unit.
It also helps to look like super cohesive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to look like as we are one, because we are playing as one.
Yes, totally. Yeah, every like band I love did that. I love Devo, for example.
Yes. Love Devo.
Devo, a collective unit. The reason I pitched Ira Glass is because my boyfriend used to like DJ, and his DJ name was Ira Glass, and I always thought there was like a humor to it, but I wouldn't say that it was like a humorous, like we didn't, we're not Dead Kennedys, or we're not like a parody like political band or something like that. I think we have self-awareness and we see that there's humor in the name, but the name pretty much has nothing to do with like the content or like our product,
Yeah.
I would say.
It is like a person that is like alive and like doing work now, so it's different than like naming yourself like, I don't know, like Franz Ferdinand or like
That's
Or-
a dope name too, though.
well, I mean, like Take Me Out, you know, by Franz Ferdinand, and then the Archduke that was killed. Anyways,
Is that a? Oh,
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
did you not listen to the radio in the 2000s?
That's how,
What's going
No.
on?
Isn't that how World War I started?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
yes, it is strange having like this alive and working person name, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of silly names that like. Yeah,
Bands are named after people all the time.
Yeah.
Like people have really fixated on our name a lot, and it's like every band is named after something or someone ultimately.
Yeah,
So,
and like you don't even at a certain point you don't even really think about like what the words mean. Like you're just like the Beatles, and it's like what the fuck they
Yeah,
named
why
themselves
did they-
after bugs.
Yeah.
Like they did a cute play on words about bugs or something.
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, like
yeah,
you're-
what the
that's a
fuck are
food.
these band names?
Yeah.
We didn't want to do like I know there are bands that are named after like people, but then they do a riff on the name, and a lot of the time, like I think there were comments on the Stereo Gum article where they were like, why didn't they do a riff on the name instead? And I feel like we were very like, we don't want to do that because it felt corny, and if we're gonna name ourselves after some like a person, we're just gonna own it and like go all the way in. So that's why we didn't name it.
Yeah, we're
like,
not a-
IRA Glass or
We're
some
not a
shit
goofy.
like that.
We're not a goofy.
What?
We're not a goofy band,
Yeah,
so it'd
yeah.
be like incongruent with like what we do
Yeah.
to have like a stupid name.
It's also just a cool name. I like the name.
Ira Glass. Yeah, there's people who like are
Yeah.
not even familiar with Ira Glass the man who have
Yeah.
said that they like our name just because it like plays off the tongue well. Like, we spend a lot of time like manually thinking about what would be new and interesting. We do like specific brainstorming for like how to avoid like routine.
We change up the set a lot.
We change up the set a lot. We do things like D from Fruit Leather. We had them do like performance art for us. Like we just try to strive to be constantly thinking about what would like compel an audience, because I think audiences are seeing like a lot of the same kind of routine like stage performance over and over again. So a lot of the conversations that we have is like, how can we take from 90s influences without rehashing or like ripping off what's already been done previously. I know that there's like a big infatuation with the 90s right now. And it has been for like 10 years among like Zoomers and millennials.
30
Like,
years.
yeah, there's like this kind of like weird fake nostalgia for the 90s. And I think that's something that we try to avoid engaging with too much.
We're an anti-nostalgia band, I think. I think we maybe dislike nostalgia. I'm not gonna say we hate nostalgia. I hate nostalgia, but I don't want to speak for
Oh,
everybody.
you can speak for yes.
Okay.
Co-signed, because that was some real shit you just said. Remember that?
Yeah.
Co-signed.
We recorded electrical audio. Roommate.
Through like sheer luck, really, because our engineer Brooks like went to a free Monday show of ours at Bottle and offered to record us on like a pay what we could basis, which was a huge blessing. So we had 2 days because that's all we could afford.
It was stressful, but kind of amazing at the same time.
It was really stressful. We crammed 5-6 songs because the EP plus Nancy, the single.
It was cool being in a spot like that has, you know, the prestige and the story and the history. And drinking fluffy coffee was neat. But I think it was just kind of the same as any sort of recording process, which to me is just arduous and annoying and
Yes,
you
there were
know,
tears.
yeah,
from multiple people.
It can be at the dopest recording studio ever, and I think the process of recording just
It's
doesn't
hellish.
change. Yeah,
It sucks. It was tense,
It
but
was tense.
we're joyful people though.
Yeah, we had
is the
fun.
gag.
We
We're
did
lighthearted
have some
people.
fun. Yeah.
So I think we made the most of it.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
we did some funky stuff. We had this like $20,000 mic, like the Sennheiser U48 or whatever, and it was used to record a like $20 toy glockenspiel. And I thought the putting those two things together was funny. We also used a lot of like of the room mics for the vocals, I think.
True.
As well.
Yeah, because when we first started mixing, I thought everything sounded really dry, and then I realized that at the time I'd been listening to like a lot of Pixies records, and so I was like, shit, can we get some verb on this? And our engineer Brooks was like, we can just make use of the room mics. Especially for the screams, like the room mics were picking up my screams a lot more, and so I think it gives a really interesting effect.
Yeah, I think we just made use of like room tone instead of like getting like real closed source and then compressing the fuck out of it kind of vibe. Like it was much more like being their natural sounding stuff, I guess.
Yes. I think we didn't want it to sound like a shitty, crunched, compressed, like metalcore record or something. Like we definitely had that like Albini ethos in mind as we were recording. We're like, let's get quality recordings up front and then touch them as little as possible in post.